Hello and welcome back to the Mike Leaf Show here on the Warrior Sports Network. I'm Grant Wall, joined by Winona State head basketball coach Mike Leaf. And Coach, last weekend, a pair of really solid Warrior wins. A defensive slugfest on Friday night against Wayne State, able to pull away in the second half, earn the victory. And then another really good, solid NSIC basketball game on Saturday night, able to pull away late and beat Augustana. But two very good wins for your team going forward.
Absolutely. And people underestimate Wayne State. Wayne is tough, and I tell you, look at their record to date. If you look at their halftime stats, is teams are if ahead by 1 or 2 points or behind by 1 or 2, and they also lead the league in points given up. They're giving up 60 plus points a game, and that's very, very low. Mm-hmm. So they play really tenacious defense, and we knew that going in. They got good size in the post, and offensively they just struggled a little bit in their scoring. So that was a battle from start to finish, and we were able to pull that out, after really struggling in that first half offensively. And then in the second game against Augustana, we knew going in that Cody Schilling, a tremendous player, but they've got a lot of weapons, and we really had to play well the entire game. And fortunate that we went when we did go to the free throw line. We hit a high percentage, and especially Grant Johnson. 16-16, which is great, especially down the stretch. But it was a well-fought game, and we were fortunate enough to come out on top. So 2 big wins for us.
That win against the win against Wayne State. You mentioned it was a tight game at halftime, and then second half, Taylor Cameron really got it going. We haven't seen him look to get his own shot a whole lot, but he really was able to exploit some mismatches, get to the basket, and score some points for you as he went on a run there in the second half.
Yeah, ever since he's came to Winona State here and started, he's always looking pass first, and he's got to be a threat offensively, and you got to use your frame. He's 6 foot, almost 6'5", and he's got to be able to take the ball to the basket and finish. And I think it was a rude awakening at halftime, and we had to go out there and really play and attack and be more physical. And boy, he took that to heart and went at it. And he made some just tremendous plays going to the hole. And if anybody was to help, he could dish it out there, but he was able to finish most of the time.
And then Saturday against Augustana, you mentioned getting to the free throw line. Grant Johnson makes all 16 of his free throw attempts. It was the third game this season where, as a team, you've made over 30 free throws. How much is getting to the line a part of your game and your game plan? And then when you've been able to make the shots when you get there?
Yeah, the thing is we've got a physical presence inside when Clayton Vetti's in there, and even Joel Armstrong when he's in there, but you get the ball into the post and you're trying to score in the post. If they collapse on him, we're trying to kick it out and get some threes up, and we've got some nice shooters in that area. But there's also that third element where you've got to be able to attack the basket, and that's one of the things that we really stressed in practice last weekend into this week, that we've got to be able to take the ball to the basket. And if you have great spacing, and say, for instance, you've got John Wahlberg on the wing, they're going to shadow John because he is a tremendous shooter, so those driving lanes are there. So we've got to attack the basket. And I think we did a really nice job, especially in that second half, but the entire game against Augustana, and we were able to create and get the fouls. So that put us to the line. Some people may say maybe there are too many fouls called. I'm not in charge of that by any means, but I think it just had to do with us attacking the basket, and another element of the game that we just have to do the rest of the year.
That winning against Augustana actually breaks a 4-game Augustana winning streak. They've been able to, I think guys like Clayton Vetti hadn't beaten Augustana yet in their Warrior career. How much of a good win just from that perspective was it, kind of getting over that hump that the Augustana team has kind of presented over the last couple of years?
Well, we, to be honest with you, didn't even dwell on that or think about it. You're bringing it to me firsthand, buddy. Really, seriously. And I'm trying to instill, and it's it's teach what you preach, and it's one of those things where I don't dwell on what we've done with teams in the past, because there's so many different players that are in the scenario. So, we looked at it from a standpoint that, number one, you got to win Friday's game in order to sweep, and let's get that win Friday first, and then we'll worry about Saturday. And once it's Saturday, then hey, we've got a battle, because we're going to be a little more winded, and we're going to be beat up a little bit from playing back-to-backs, but you know what else? So's the other team. And we've got to be able to do that. If you're fortunate enough to get into postseason, you get to the regionals. If you're fortunate enough to get there, you got to be playing a lot of games in a short period of time. So it's only going to help us. And it was just knowing that you're playing a real quality basketball team, and you battle them to the bitter end, and coming out on top. Like I said, this league is really tough. So in order to get that win, we had to play well, and we did, and we got it, and now we move on.
And the 2 wins, you're now up to 6th in the nation, to have a game lead in the NSIC standings. What's the message to the team now in practice this week as you move forward? We'll talk specifically about Mankato and Southwest here in a moment, but as you come to 2 emotional games this weekend, what's your message to the team?
I tell them, I don't know who's doing this voting that's putting us at 6th in the country, I'll tell you that, but it's something where it's not really in our control. As I say to them, you're in charge of your own destiny, and it's not by chance. It's by the hard work and the things that we do in practice, and that's where you always got to be humble. You got to be hungry. You've got to be grounded, and knowing that everybody's working as hard as you are, and they're preparing just like we are, and anything can happen. So the team that makes the fewest mistakes has the greater opportunity to win the ball game. So let's eliminate those mistakes, do a better job rebounding and across the board, and that's been the message. Like you said, we've got 2 tough ball games coming up this weekend, but you can't win both of them if you don't win Friday. So Friday's first on the list against Mankato, and a team that's dangerous. And they scare the heck out of all of us. So, they're always ready to play. They're always up on top, and it'll be a war.
Well, we will be back. Coach will be talking specifically about those 2 games here in a minute. But first, Xavier Humphrey, the junior guard, is going to sit down with me and talk a little bit about his experiences here, and especially going up against a tough Minnesota State Mankato team. And welcome back. Now joined by Warrior guard Xavier Humphrey, and X. It's been a great season so far. 17-2. You're up to number 6 in the country. What to you? I think we ask this every week to a different guy, but it's nice to get everybody's perspective. What to you has been the thing that has really gotten you guys on a run like this?
I think it's just chemistry, first and foremost. I mean, everybody knows their roles, and this coach instilling in us that. No matter if you play 40 minutes or 4 seconds, give it your all. And I think every person on that team's buying into that. And everybody come in, play hard, do what they're supposed to do, and is resulting in victories for us.
And your role has certainly been to make some plays, and none as big as the 3 that you hit late in the game against Augustana last Saturday. A back and forth, really tough game. You and John Wahlberg hit 3-pointers on back-to-back possessions, kind of give you a little bit of a cushion. How big was that shot, and what was going through your mind when you saw it hit the bottom of the net?
It was definitely a big shot, and John was just as big as well. But coach just told me to spot up, attack the zone, and Augustana went zone for I think it was like the last 3-4 minutes of the game, and our team is just filled with shooters. And between TC and Grant, they attack the zone, make 2 play 1, and leave somebody open, and it just happened to be me, and I was able to knock the shot down.
And when you got the ball, you were ready to go and put it through.
Yeah.
This weekend, as we look forward now, Minnesota State Mankato coming in on Friday night, Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday. We'll start out with just your thoughts on this weekend. Those are 2 really tough teams, but 2 teams that you've beaten already this year. What's the thought going into this weekend?
2 tough ball games. I mean, they both put a lot of pressure on the ball. Both are great teams, well-coached teams. A lot of talent on both teams as well. And we went there I think it was a month ago, and we were able to get 2 hard-fought victories before Christmas break. And I think those 2 games really got the ball rolling for us and gave us some momentum. But they're tough ball games. They're very talented teams. And I mean, it's just going to be got to prepare for 2 dogfights on Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely, and it's no secret that those Minnesota State Mankato games against that Maverick team. They're ones that get circled early in the calendar. It's a really good rivalry that these two schools have fostered over the last few years. What's it like playing a team like that every year that is so good year in, year out?
They're always a lot of talent. I mean, they're well coached, first and foremost. And they bring in a lot of transfers. And you get transfers and you practice with each other and you get that chemistry. And they're very, very good at doing that. And it's just one of those games that you look on the schedule, it's like, okay, when do we play Mankato? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember freshman year coming in, DJ was a senior, and DJ was just like, one game that we got to prepare for is Mankato. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we lost to them both times that year. But last year was my first time personally beating them, and we were able to beat them again this year. And I know they're going to come into Winona expecting a dogfight, and we expect that. And we got to match their attention, and hopefully we come out with that victory on Friday.
You mentioned David Johnson kind of letting you know as a freshman that that's one game. How quickly did you understand the magnitude of this rivalry and what it means to play a team like that every year when you got here to Winona State?
We played them up at Sioux Falls, which is it was a neutral court, but we were running off of warm-ups, and you hear them just like, you know, roo roo rah rah rah, and we're just like, okay, like they're getting excited, so I guess we should get excited. And then we're warming up, and one of the players, I forget his name, but I'm running back to the half-court line after I do a layup. And he turns to me just like, you're in for a long night, freshman. And I'm just like, yeah, I see what the rivalry means now.
Something that you got into pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be two great games against Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday night, and then that game against Minnesota State Mankato Friday night. It's going to be great to see you out there, X. We will see everybody this weekend. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back one more time with Coach Leaf after this break. And welcome back to the Mike Leaf Show. Coach, we talked about it earlier when you were on, how tough this weekend's going to be. Minnesota State Mankato on Friday, Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday. We've said time and time again on this show, each game in the NSIC is a war, but these two especially are against two talented and physical teams.
Sure. You know, Minnesota State Mankato, they had a great run last year, and it's a team that's growing during the course of the year, and we played them early, and you saw a little bit of their struggles, but you just knew they had an extremely talented team, and they led a lot of the game when we were over at their place. So, you're seeing them play a lot better basketball, building confidence. They got some younger guys that are getting experience, and I tell you what, they're a scary team. They really are, and Matt Morgenthaler, he does a great job coaching over there, and every year their team is in top in our league, and I don't see any difference this year. And like I said, they're just continuing to grow, and I think they're playing some of their best basketball right now. So, we've just got to play some good, solid defense at one end and be patient and get some great shots at the other.
Last game there in Mankato in December, you were without Clayton Vetty. He had to sit that game out. Now having him back, how much does his additional presence, I mean, this is going to sound like an obvious question, but how much of his additional presence benefits you this Friday night?
Well, it goes two ways. Clayton was hurt at our game at Southwest. We go to Mankato and play, and they don't know until game time that he's not available, and so things may change now for them that they've been working on the last few days to play us. So, you don't know if it's a surprise, and it's happened to us as well, where one of your better players on the other team isn't playing. Does that give you an advantage or a disadvantage? Because now all of a sudden, mentally it changes. So obviously we love having Clayton back, and his presence inside and obviously in the rebounding category. So it'll be nice to have him back, but Joel Armstrong, I think that was a nice breakthrough for him at Mankato. He's been playing more minutes. We look for him to help us out here down the stretch, and so you're going to see a lot of him in the game as well. So, they know he's back in there, and it was unfortunate he was hurt the first time around, but, No, obviously, you want your best team out there on the floor, and we hope to have that.
And Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday, they're a team that's kind of lurking there, right there in the middle of the packet in the conference standings. A team that, with a couple good wins, is right up there near the top.
Oh, I tell you what, Southwest, no, bar none, they are the best rebounding team in our conference. And and it's not out of control, but they just go at those boards so hard at both ends of the floor. So, I mean, you have got to block out, you have got to be ready every possession, because it's almost like they expect to miss. So that's why they're crashing that hard, and even though they're not, they just go at the board so hard, and that's one of the biggest things. And they're a team that likes to pick up full court. They like to quicken the pace of the game, and they're extremely physical. And I think I sound like a broken record, but they are an extremely talented basketball team, and they present a lot of problems, and that's a great word, lurking. They are right in the thick of things. And you're right, you get a couple wins there and bang, you're right there on top. So, it's hard to describe, but and that's what I'm telling my team all week long is preparing for these games. You can't take any breather. It is just physical, it's tough. You mentally have to be ready, physically got to be ready, don't make mistakes, do the little things. And, all you can do is play your best. And, if you lose a game, you ran out of time, but you got to leave it out there on the floor.
Let's step back to Mankato for a second. This is a team, and two teams in Winona State and Minnesota State that have really, over the last few years, formed a great rivalry in the NSIC. Two teams that have met on several occasions in the postseason. What does this rivalry do for the two schools, and how special of a rivalry is it?
I think we have several rivalries in our league. I think the thing with Mankato is that they came into our league a few years ago. They're only a 2-hour drive from Winona, so easy access one way or the other. And I know a lot of our fans like to go over to Mankato. They've got such a beautiful arena, and it's a nice place to watch a game at. So that's kind of a neat thing, and so I think that's part of it. So you're able to get a fan base from both schools. And I think, though, that, both Mankato and ourselves, I think we recruit great players. We recruit players that are going to work hard. They've got high expectations. They come from winning programs. There's many a times where maybe we'll get a player, or Mankato will, that we both battled for. So I think those things come into play. But my hat goes off to them, and not just their basketball team, but across the board. They've got great facilities, and they've got great programs. So, we the same. So I hope there's a mutual respect, and I think people like to watch us because we bring out the best in each of us, and we play hard, and it's fun to watch.
And part of that bringing out the best has to go back to the fact that these are two teams that have met several times over the last few years in the postseason. You were able to knock off Minnesota State a couple times in your runs to the Elite Eight and the Final Four. They knocked you off last year as they went out to the Elite Eight. So it's two teams that have been playing at an extremely high level, which just adds another layer to that rivalry.
Oh, absolutely. I can remember the games here in McCowan Gym, and I mean, they're lined up outside, and Mankato's got school colors of purple as well, and I was actually out there. I mean, the lines outside for the regional student lines were a good 3 blocks long out there, and adult support, it was out to the gazebo in the center of campus. And I was just walking there thanking for people to come, and there were many people that were, hey, we're from Mankato, and I didn't care. It was just a great atmosphere, and those are things that are special, and players from both teams, win or lose, you're going to look back at those games, and they were special events. And just to have that support outside, coming into the games, the packed house, and then you're going to battle, it's things you never forget.
Yeah, and Saturday or Friday night will be another chapter in this rivalry. Again, Minnesota State Mankato here. It's going to be an 8 o'clock tip on Friday night, 7 o'clock tip against the Southwest Minnesota State Mustangs on Saturday. Going to be two great games. Coach, we'll look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Mike Leaf Show. We will see you next week.